Hello, today I'd like to show you how to make a one-string slide guitar. First thing you need to do to get started is to get a few materials. So the main thing you're going to need, which is going to be the neck, is an old broom pole. We'll also need a box which is going to form the body of the guitar. The other thing you'll be needing is a guitar tuner, so you can put your string on, and you'll also need to get a guitar string. Right, so a really important thing to start off with is to measure all the important dimensions onto the neck. The scale length of the guitar is 25.5 inches, which equates to about 650 millimeters. So that's going to be the distance between, let me show you an example, the nut this end and the bridge this end. So that's the overall dimension of the string that you hear playing. Now, if I look at the box, I want to have a little bit of the neck or the pole sticking out one side, so I'll put a string through it. So that will be this end. So I'll make a mark there for the size of the box, and again a mark on this side for where it's going to come out at the other end. The next thing to think about is where that string is going to work in that space. And I want the bridge to be in a little bit from the end here. So I'm going to make a measurement from there, maybe about 5 centimeters in. And I'll make a mark this end, which will be the nut or the end of the scale length. So that's where it starts from, that's where it goes to. Now the other end of that, if I refer back to the example again, you want the headstock. So you want a certain amount of wood where you can put your tuning peg, and there's a little bit of space afterwards to make sure it's all strong enough and it looks okay. So this bit here is going to be the headstock. And what you need to do is kind of cut a bit in here at the top here to make sure that you've got a flat surface to put your tuning peg onto. The depth of the headstock needs to be about 16 or 17 millimeters. Right, so overall my pole's 25 millimeters thick, so I want to take off about 7-8 millimeters. So I'll take a few off the top, maybe 4 off the top and 4 off the bottom. So you need about 16-17 millimeters left in the middle there for the headstock. So this is the part that I marked out for the headstock. So that's where we're going to put the tuner through here. This is the bit where the body's going to go. So if you look there, it will fit within there. Now the reason it's been recessed down is so later on we can close the lid and this sticks up a little bit further. I mean, I cut this with a bandsaw, but you could do, just use an ordinary standard tenon saw to chop the ends, chop it through the middle, and then chisel that section off, and then sand it down afterwards. So the next thing to do is to get this to fit in the body of the guitar. Drill a couple of holes in either end of the box, so one that side, one this side, so then it can kind of poke through and sit down onto these bits of wood that I've already glued in. Now before I drill the holes, I want to make sure I get the holes in the middle of the box so it's nice and even. And again, same on this side. Bring the line down to make sure I get in the right place. Now the next thing to decide is how far down it needs to be placed, so I get it so it's just sticking up slightly above the edge of the box. I'll measure that as well, 15 millimeters, so I'll do the same on the other side. Now again, to do this section now, you can either use what I'm using, which is a flat drill bit. You could also use a round one if it's big enough, or if you haven't got either of those things, you could just use a little saw to cut round and then sand it out. Good, that seems pretty secure now. Now you might need to ask for some help with this. Just check if the hole fits through. Yep, it does. And now onto the other side. Right, so now we've got a hole either side where we can fit the broom pole through. The broom pole is a little bit lower than the lid, so the lid can close on top of it. So it might be at this stage you have to do a little bit of adjusting, a bit of filing to make it fit. So now it fits into the box and it just comes above the body. So again, the string can come across and it won't get in the way there. So the next step is to think about getting the holes in position for the tuning peg, and also for where the string will come through this pole at the back here, go over the bridge and down to the tuning peg end. So we need to get a couple of drill bits ready and move on to the next stage. Okay, so if we refer back to the example model, this is the bit we're going to do first, which is where the hole comes through and gets pulled over the bridge. I'm going for a 2mm drill bit here. Then next I need to mark out and get the tuning peg hole sorted out. Now it's not completely critical where this goes in some ways, but essentially it doesn't want to be too far this way, otherwise you might find that your guitar strings aren't long enough to reach down to the far end. I'm going for 2.5cm or 25mm away from the nut. Right, so that fits through nicely, and then you have another part of the tuning peg, this little nut here, which needs to go on top. And first of all, just using your fingers, you can get that started off. A closer look there. Now to tighten it up fully, I'm going to need a spanner though. There's also a little screw you can put in the back there, so just a little pilot hole, and I'll pop that in, and that'll keep it from moving around later on. Next step then is we want to fit this into the box so it stays still and doesn't move around when we start playing. Okay, if I hold this up for a second, so with my box, because it's quite deep, I've fitted these 2 bits of wood previously, so I've got something to screw through here, which means it will hold together. Alright, brilliant. So now the box closes, the neck can't move around because we've fixed it down with these screws here. Put the string through and make sure it reaches right down to that end. Right, so for this guitar I've just got an acoustic guitar string. This is what you'd call the bottom E string, so it's the thickest one you get on the guitar, and hopefully that'll give us a lower sound and a bit more resonance than maybe a high string. So you've got to feed the string through the hole of the back there. Great, it fits through nicely. Pull it through until it's taut, and just double check it's going to go right to the end, which thankfully it does. So we've got a couple of other things to add to make this guitar work. Now on this end, on the headstock end, we need to add a nut. Now to do that, I'm just going to use a little bolt on this end. You could use, various different things. It could be a screw, it could be another bit of wood, but essentially you need to bring the height of the strings further up so it can go over the top here and not touch the neck. Yeah, that looks good. Now on this side, my right hand side, we're going to need something to make the bridge here. So we need another bolt or something to push the strings further up. So again, the string can clear the neck and make a sound. If it touches onto the body or the neck, it obviously won't work. I've got a bigger bolt, but to make sure it's raised up a bit further still, you might want to have a bit of scrap wood on hand just to kind of boost it up a little bit to make it work a bit better. So I'm going to rest my bolt that side and get the string across. Yeah, so I can see already that should probably work with one piece of wood underneath it. If not, I've got the second one there ready to go. You essentially need to wrap it round the machine head here and then tighten it up. I'm going to wrap it round once, hold down the finger there, then we need to poke that through the hole there, pull it tight, and then I'm going to start tightening that string up, because the way that the nut and the bridge are holding together or held in place on this sort of guitar, you need to get a bit of tension on the string. Right, so I've got a little bit of tension on the string now, so I'm going to see if I can get this bolt to hold this end, which is the nut, and tighten it a bit more. Great, so already I can see that's going to work okay. I've had a quick tidy up, so let's see how it sounds. You can probably see behind there's a couple of other guitars which I made previously, so let's see how they compare to the one string. So hopefully this has inspired you to want to make your own guitar, and as you can see it's quite straightforward to get started. You don't need too many tools and it shouldn't cost you very much money. So good luck and have fun with it.